Hey guys, Lohpally here with another video, and today we're going to be going over the EG vs TSM game for week 8 on Friday. This is going to be our after action report for our LCS co-stream. So going over and jumping into the draft is going to be talked about a little bit at the start of things. The first thing that I kind of want to point out in this draft is the first 3 picks that end up happening, where EG picks Graves, a strong jungler in pushing, and then TSM responds with the Caitlyn and the Volibear. This is really good because for TSM, as you can kind of see right here, it forces EG to respond with their AD pick, which we will see as Ashe and Zoe as their mid laner. And finally, TSM will round it out with a Morgana pick. The reason why this draft at the start is very interesting is since we have seen the Swole brothers be added in, which is Golden Glue and Svenskeren, plus on top of that adding Huni to the lineup for Evil Geniuses, they've played 4 games, and in their 2 victories, as you can see right here, and I draw your attention to the bottom screen, Gangplank is one of the common picks that EG does when they win games. So they're 2-2 on the 2 weeks that they've played together, and actually their compositions when they win look exactly the same, where they're picking Gangplank, Volibear, Zoe for mid lane, and then Aphelios and Alistar for bottom lane. So the reason why this draft is very interesting and well prepared is a couple of things for the start. Number one is that Caitlyn has actually started to rise in popularity, and she is a very prominent pick nowadays, especially in the meta of Ashe starting to show up after we've seen some nerfs to Ezreal and Aphelios. Another great thing for TSM is Caitlyn actually pairs incredibly well with Morgana. And as we just kind of recently touched on, EG has been mostly winning with Zeyzal on Alistar and engage support. Seems like combination of his comm skills and his comfortability engaging seems to make this team really thrive. So not only are they banning, as you can see right here, the Gangplank from Huni, but we're also going to see them take away the other teamfight engage source, which is the Alistar, by blocking it with this Morgana pick. After that, the draft kind of evolves, as you can see right here, where we're going to see multiple bans thrown at Huni once again, where we're going to see Ornn and Rumble both banned too by TSM, which is really well educated for them because it's going to take away more tools for EG and stop them from being engaging. Now, as the draft kind of fully winds out, we're going to see that TSM ends up picking up the Zillion since there is a lot of targeted spells and one-shot abilities by EG. This is a really good counteraction to this. Plus, TSM, some of their greatest games, have actually had Bjergsen on Zillion. After that, EG responds with the Senna and Kennen, trying to pick out some lane bullies and win through lanes. One thing to note, though, is if you look at EG's team composition, although they have a couple of go buttons and ways to follow up on each other, they don't have any frontline. So that means that a lot of their predication on victory is winning via laning phases and converting that with good team fights. Their engage is really, really sharp, though, and needs very high precision. Whereas we kind of see right here, TSM's is a lot more basic. Very easy group team fighting. All of them have like good follow-up on each other, and they can play front to back, but also dive if the options are available. Because of this, I feel like TSM has a much easier time winning the game, but actually what you'll see in this game is both EG and TSM have opportunities to win the fights and actually score counter kills. So the number one thing that occurs in this game is dragons. And as you can see from this, we have the pressure from the bottom lane of EG actually creating pressure against Caitlyn Morgana. So while EG has actually crippled their ability to teamfight nearly as well by Zeyzal not playing a tank, what you can see right here is based off the pressure that EG creates with their counter pick and having a strong 2v2 lane, where both the Senna and the Ashe can both run approach velocity. They've been able to poke out and push out the bottom lane, which allows EG to actually secure the first dragon. The reason why this is very important and pinnacle part of this game is because of the fact that this game goes to a really lengthy stage, and a lot of it is around dragons. So being able to get one of the early dragons for EG allows them to kind of pick and choose their battles on when they do contest dragons. And it means that they're not looking down the barrel of potentially a soul point at 20 minutes into the game and forced to dragon fight. The next important part of this game is going to participate in a turret dive. So as you can see right here, TSM has already set up a turret dive by having a ward in the jungle so that Bjergsen can actually TP and get around the angle. Now Spica is already here, but EG is here to respond to this. The most important thing to note about this is the fact that we also have Malphite TPing in, so that Malphite can now flank around and go behind the turret. This is kind of the first precursor for the concept of TSM's team composition being a lot easier to execute and just very strong at 5v5ing in ball compositions. As you see right here with Malphite walking behind the turret and Spica clearing out this ward, they're able to start moving around and push behind the turret. One of the most powerful things about, as you'll see right here, is that Volibear can disable turrets and engage quite easily. Not only that, but they have multiple sources of engage, so it doesn't need to always be one person that starts things. So, Broken Blade is able to just go in and Malphite ult whoever they hit, and they're just able to burn down whatever's in front of them. Since this is a really easy play for them to execute and they're able to score these kills, they're actually able to break open the game and get this bottom lane turret going. The most important thing for TSM is to make sure that they get gold on their carries. So Bjergsen and Doublelift need to be able to have a good income to be able to create pressure and teamfight quite often. Not only does this turret dive show the easiness of TSM's ability to teamfight, but it also secures them the second dragon, as this will be a main focal point of this game is dragons, dragons, dragons. So being able to get the tempo off on this turret dive and being able to then score this dragon allows them to start stacking towards their soul win condition. The next important part will come at another dragon fight. As we see, the dragons are now 2-1 in TSM's favor, and TSM is trying to get to soul point. So they get to the dragon quite quickly, but EG has the inside track on mid lane, and they're posturing back and forth between the dragon. This kind of forces TSM to make the decision to actually have to pull the dragon, because otherwise, as you can see right here, EG can access the mid wave and kind of barrel down mid and potentially threaten their inhibitor, which kind of forces TSM to react and basically pull the trigger on this dragon. Now, the posturing, remember, is always much more advantageous for EG because of the fact that they are able to control the fights via their Ash Arrow. But an important thing to note is flash cooldown is pretty much what runs this team composition. If EG does a good job of executing flashes and dodges Malphite ult, then they can kite backwards and team fight. But an incidental problem is that Svenskeren actually doesn't use his flash and gets hit by Malphite ult, which scores a kill. But there's something really important to note now, right, in this circumstance, which is that actually Spica ends up using his blue smite to DPS down the Graves in this situation. That means there's no smite up, so even though they've killed the jungler, they've effectively neutralized the advantage that they have over this dragon. After that, and a bunch of poke onto Bjergsen, they're actually able to leverage a lot of extra HP and gain access to the dragon, as you can see right here, where EG pulls it back to their side. Because of that, they're able to dump enough damage in and actually score and tie the dragons at 2-2. This game mostly predicates around the dragons, so it's really important to point these out because of the fact that whoever gets these dragons is at a huge advantage for being able to teamfight. Since both of their team compositions want to teamfight quite frequently, this is going to be an important thing to pay attention to. The next pivotal point in this game is going to be where EG actually gets the inside track and starts collapsing up on top lane, where they have spotted Bjergsen. Now, the Ash Arrow misses, but Svenskeren is actually able to collapse on them, and Huni is quite behind them, and they're going to force the Zillion ult almost immediately and DPS everyone down. One thing to note, though, is this fight is kind of going on for a long period of time, and Malphite ult gets onto 2 players. As you can see right here, EG is just DPSing whoever they can and cutting backwards. But one of the biggest problems that EG runs into is if they're not killing someone immediately, they struggle with actually chasing people down because Zillion ult is on quite a short cooldown. Another thing important to note too now is Bjergsen has now reset and has teleport. Now, while TSM treats may be really low, the more important champions like Doublelift and Spica have most of their HP up, and most of EG is kind of out of cooldowns and relatively low on HP. So what you're going to see now is that Spica is going to now start swinging around, and we see a teleport occurring via Bjergsen. One of the biggest strengths of a champion like Zillion is the fact that his cooldowns are incredibly short. So if you can have a lengthy team fight where you're chasing people for long periods of time, your cooldowns are going to come up quite frequently. And as you can see right here, the fight has lasted long enough that actually Zillion ult comes back up and they're able to score another kill. This also gains them access to the top side of the map and kind of shows what can be a problematic team fight for EG down the line. The next important part is this third dragon for TSM, the 5th dragon total. Now, one thing to point out is if Spica hadn't missed his smite in the earlier stages or used it on the jungler Svenskeren, then this would actually be their soul right now. But thanks to the fact that they were able to steal it by EG, they are able to just be on soul point rather than being in soul deficit. Now, because of this, it means that it becomes a lot more difficult for TSM to put pressure on the map, since they're still waiting basically 5 minutes to fight over the next neutral objective, and it kind of gives EG some more breathing room. Alright guys, so in the middle of this game, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to go to a new segment called Losing to the Shopkeeper that I've coined. This is where I mercilessly flame any and all pro players for their terrible build itemization paths and offer solutions for fixing them in the future. As we can see right here, Hooney, the infamous Phantom Dancer, Hex Drinker builder, is going to be building his Gunblade and Morellonomicon. Now, one can make an argument for the Gunblade since maybe he wants to split push a little bit and it offers really good hybrid stats for the champion, but Morellonomicon is pretty much a sin at this point in time for a lot of purposes. So number one is the champion he's playing against, currently Malphite, doesn't have any healing in laning phase or in split push. So because of that, he doesn't need the healing reduction. Plus, you don't get any more spell pen when you build Morellonomicon after you upgrade it from Oblivion Orb. So it doesn't amplify your damage very much at all, and is quite inefficient actually when you complete the Oblivion Orb to Morellonomicon in terms of how much gold you spend versus how much AP you have. You usually pay most of your premium on the fact that you want the healing reduction. Another thing to note too is there's basically no healing on TSM basically at all. You can maybe make an argument for some of the Conqueror stacking or maybe the Zillion ultimate, but in any case, shape or form, you could have easily gotten healing reduction on both the Senna or the Ashe for the lowly price of 800 gold, and this would have allowed him to build closer to either a Void Staff or get closer to a Zhonya's. So this is a big no-no, and I have to flame him a little bit for this, and that's it for this Losing to the Shopkeeper. This is a big no-no. Don't do this. The next pivotal point of this game is going to be where EG actually spots some of the TSM members via Hawkshot resetting. So because of the fact that they've lost a fight recently in the top lane, they decided to what most people would call flip the game, where they're going to risk it on a 50-50 Baron Smite to get ahead back into this game. This is actually a pretty good call since they were relatively losing team fights for the most part, and very commendable to make an aggressive play like this. Because of this, it's not actually too much of a 50-50 though, because as I can point out right here, right before the Baron is actually slain, they also have Golden Glue who has swapped over to Smite. So they're going to use double Smites on this Baron to secure this Baron. And they pretty much make sure that it's not a 50-50 at all, but actually guarantee a 100-0. It's a really good play by EG to actually get back into a game where normally they would be in up shit creek without a paddle because of the fact that it's very hard for them to team fight. And the new dragon is going to be coming up relatively soon. Fast forwarding a little bit to about 33-40 into the game, we actually see that at the current game state that EG has leveraged their Baron quite well. They've now wrestled control on the map, and they've gotten a pretty big gold lead, the biggest gold lead of the game actually, which is about 3,500 gold. And because of this and the fact that they have control of the map via Baron and allowing them to push, they're actually able to secure the third dragon for themselves. So now they've actually tied up soul point and no longer have to worry about just their opponents getting soul. The final conclusionary element of this game is actually going to be TSM, where they actually wrestle some pressure in mid and then they decide to actually pull a Baron themselves and turn it into a 50-50. A thing to note too though is Doublelift actually has a really good trap line, so when they're ever at a neutral objective first, it actually is incredibly advantageous for TSM just because of the fact that Caitlyn can control a lot of space on the map and make sure that it's hard for the enemy team to get in. Now, because of this though, the enemy EG is able to actually get over the wall and get a good cannon ultimate. And you can kind of see the fight ensues where EG is just chasing down mercilessly TSM members. Now, because of the approach velocity and the fact that the Zoe can pick up a lot of summoners and continuously chase people down, it's actually very advantageous for EG. So they kind of neutralize the Baron that TSM has gotten for the most part. But if it's very ominous to kind of think about and to see kind of what's going to happen next, which is that, as we saw in the top lane previously, when EG tends to overstep and have long fights where they're drawn out, TSM seems to be quite at an advantageous scenario. So EG actually goes for a either end or at least an inhibitor, and Golden Glue is going to TP back with full HP. But because of this, they've kind of overextended and Svenskeren is quite low, and now Bjergsen has the opportunity to start chasing them down across the map. Because of the fact that he has Glacial and he can spam and cycle so many slows and movement speed buffs to himself, they're able to start continuously chasing. Also, because of a good ward down that they placed while they were cutting backwards, they have TPs available. And as you can kind of see right here, Doublelift is TPing in now, and Broken Blade's already TP'd in. Kind of ominous of the top lane fight previously. Now TSM has the opportunity to maybe counter push, and they actually go down mid and end the game. Overall, I thought that this game was actually quite well played by both teams. There were both really good back and forths and mistakes done by both teams. I think in general, EG kind of drafted themselves into a hole though, because it was a lot harder for them to win team fights unless they played immaculately on an individual level. Also, I'm not a big fan of Huni's build path, and in general, it felt really weird to have the Kennen pick get so well received with Broken Blade's Malphite and a gank early in the top lane. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this after-action report of the game from Friday. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below. Let me know what you like, dislike. It's kind of a new piece of content, so feedback is always really appreciated. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.